Okay, I'm just getting settled here before I begin. This is a bit of an experiment to see how a live painting session can go. And for you who do not know me, again, my name is Tim Spekowski of Footsore Miniatures. I am the North American branch. Today, I'm going to see if I can speed paint this Ukrainian DNR figure in about 2 hours. We'll see. It could be faster. I don't know. But I wanted to show you guys my technique of speed painting, and I was going to use a different camouflage. This figure and another figure were representative of the leaders of the Russian-backed forces during the Ukraine uprising, and he wore more of a digi camo, and I wasn't going to attempt to achieve that here in this 2-hour video, because one, I have never painted it, and I didn't want to look more like a fool than I do anyway. So I thought this Russian, the camouflage pattern that's up to the top right, would be a lot easier to do. Plus, I've seen actual pictures of him wearing it, so I thought, oh, what the heck. So, is this video going to be perfect? No. So just bear with me. But the whole intention of this is to help people learn how to do things a little bit different, and then maybe that can save themselves some more time. So I picked my palette. So basically, if you look at the uniform at the top right corner, it's nice light olive green with those nice little splotches of cream colors. I've got the picture at the top right showing just the uniform, and then I also like looking at reference pictures to see how does the uniform lay out when the arms are at the ready, holding the rifle. How does it look like when it's kneeling, that sort of thing. So that's the reason why I have that. The top left picture is my palette, my wet palette, and I wanted to show you guys how I use that and how I'm going to use that to help me paint this figure real quick. Let's get to the base color. I am going to use Citadel Contrast Militarum Green as a darker shade color, and the base color is going to be Vallejo Model Color German Cam Bright Green. I'm going to mix these two and make more of a filter, not a wash, but of a filter, and so you can see how the color flows onto the figure. Oh, I do want to say it may be a bit loud at sometimes. I'll mute the mic because I'm going to use a hairdryer to speed up the drying process so I can do this video. So the palette is the bright green. I'll go back over with the bright green, and then I will use an olive green for highlights, and then most likely I will start using the same kind of cream color that I'm going to use for the camouflage. This is Panzer Ace's Highlight British Tank. I love these tank colors, these Web Tankers colors, both the regular darker color and this highlight. And then finally, I will use Pale Sand to highlight this color on the camouflage pattern. Okay, so people are chatting with me, which is awesome. It's awesome. Okay, so let's begin this experiment. Let's see, I'm going to start with the base color. So I'm going to mix this Militarum Green and this Vallejo Bright Green. What I'm going to do, since it's just painting one figure, I'm just going to take some brush and dip the brush into the contrast paint. I think this will be enough for this figure. It should. And I will clean my brush. I'm working in pretty tight quarters here with cameras and lights and everything. Oh, I do want to say one thing. Give a shout out to Chris Long. He won one of the videos. Let's see if I can show this. He posted these glasses, these magnifying glasses. Chris, if you could post that again. I bought these things. They're like maybe $12, and it replaced my magnifying my other magnifying light, and it allows me to make these videos a lot easier because I can actually get in. So thanks a lot, Chris, for showing that. So I'm going to take the German Cam Bright Green, mix that up. Now, at first, this can be a bit of an experiment because I don't know what the colors are going to look like at first. So I may have to add more darker color or after more lighter color. Because what I'm wanting is a shade. I'm wanting just a darker color of the base color. So I am going to put another drop of the contrast paint in. Do this. And then I'm going to use Vallejo's thinner medium, which is much cheaper than other mediums, let's just say. Mix this up. Okay, yep, that's darker. Hope you can see that. Okay, here we go, kids. Now, the other fun thing about making videos is making sure that figures in focus all the time. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to apply this right now. And the web gear is going to be, at first, the same color as the uniform. I'll change that up, but this saves me time. I don't have to worry about using a different color, green, and all that sort of stuff. So what that's doing is it's establishing a base color that I can build off on. Okay, I'm in focus. I have to remember to keep this figure in the camera's view because normally when I paint, it's pretty dangerous down here because my hands are just moving fast. I mean, I'm just moving. And because the whole idea is just for speed. I'm not going to win any competitions. I just want nice looking figures for the table. Okay. Okay, so this is a thin layer of paint, which I love because it allows the pre-shading work that I've done, as well as, well, for the tones, the dark tones, and it allows the light tones to come through a lot easier. Okay. I hope you guys can see this. It's a nice color. See, that's real easy. That's why I can't wait to paint up more Vietnam figures and stuff like that. So much easier than multicam. I will do a multicam video, live video. I just wanted to make sure that this was how this was gonna work and how it was gonna be received by the group, and if it's helpful for people. Okay, so awesome. So what I'm going to do now is, instead of allowing the blow dryer, I know the areas where the light is going to be coming from and where the shadow is going to be coming from. So I'm going to be working on highlighted areas here. I'm not going to be working on a lot of the areas between the legs. It's not necessary because I'll tackle that with some washes, some shades. Okay, looking good. Okay, so what I always do is, since that was basically a darker color of the base color, I'm going to start building off of that same color. So I'll put the bright green back in, drop of the thinner medium. I like painting in thin layers. Gives me time and the ability to fix something I may have messed up. Okay, good. Got my Nice little cheap craft brush loaded with paint. So, you know, a lot of people say that there's like glory shots of figures or money shots of figures. And I kind of, when I look at a figure, I kind of look to see what do I think is more heroic? Where do I want to spend a lot of the time with my highlighting and shading, that sort of thing. So definitely, in my opinion, it's the, oh, I gotta break a brush here. Definitely, in my opinion, it's the shoulder, it's the legs, it's this area here. So I'm going to get a nice point, and I'm just going to go right in and just start adding layers. Now, this paint is still wet, so the great thing about it is, as it's dry, it will do a lot of the blending on its own. Yeah, this is quite a challenge, making sure that this is in focus, looking through magnifying lenses, making sure that it's in the camera. So thin layers, thin layers. People can be very intimidated by camouflage, and I remember I, for one, I was scared to death of camouflage. Back in the day, though, when I was trying to do camouflage, I was much younger, in my teens, and the only thing I had were Verlinden magazines or Shepherd Payne books or anything like that on camouflage, and it was just like the finished product. It was never the black art of how to do it. And eventually, I just, over time, many years of practice, I just kind of got good with it, in my opinion, for what I needed to do. Okay, so we don't see much of a transition right now, and that's fine. If you guys are watching, can you tell me, how does this look on screen? Do you see it? Does it work well? Do you see any changes in color at all? I'm just kind of looking here. Okay, so I will add some more of the bright green. Yeah, this may take a bit to build up to a nice highlight, and that's okay. Mix it up. Okay. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, I wanted to paint this figure because recently there's been a lot of attention on this range, which is funny because I was looking at pictures of the masters that were still in the in the clay, the Sculpey format. That was in 2018. So it's funny how things take a little bit of time to get brought up to the surface, no matter what you do to promote it. Okay, I'm not seeing much of a transition, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go from just a solid color, and then I'm going to drop the olive green right into it. So I'm going to start adding the highlights. Again, all this paint is wet, so we're using the advantage of it being wet. And again, as that dries, it will dry translucent and on top of each other. There we go. Okay, here we go. See how fast? I mean, I'm not trying to be, really slow and meticulous as far as my lines and where I'm putting the paint. Because I know a lot of this will be corrected with shades that I will apply. I talk a lot about knowing what your paint can do, knowing your technology. That means knowing what it's going to look like when it's dry, and that alone will save you time, because you may do something and you may think you made a mistake, and I thought, no, let's just wait for a bit and see what it looks like dry. And my God, it can look really cool. Okay, not doing a lot of areas on this side here. So again, I'm really working this angle here. Okay, some comments. Okay, going back to the screen. Okay. Yeah, I'm literally just putting it right on top of where the last layer was. Okay. Going back again. And I think I am going to be ready to introduce the beige part to get the highlights going here. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add a drop of the Panzer Aces Vallejo Panzer Aces Highlight British Tank, which I highly recommend. This color, little drop. I don't want to do something drastic right now. I don't want to just go from a green to quite a bit of a beigey cream. I want it to be somewhat subtle. And sometimes if it's too much of a change, then I can always go back into the original color where I drew it from. Okay, here we go. Well, you can definitely see the difference in shade on this right leg here. I haven't really done any layering at all here, because I was just doing an extreme area where the light is hitting his leg on that fold. Okay. The edge of the pouch there, get that. Okay. I'm going to add another drop to the highlight. I don't think I've ever really painted this camouflage pattern before, so this is new to me. What you guys are saying is new. Definitely a cream color. We've jumped from this dark color all the way up here. There we go. That's a jump. Yeah, I can't stress how great these magnifying glasses are that Chris Long found and posted. I've said before that when I was younger, I didn't paint with them, and I would think it was funny that the old guys were painting with them. And now I am of that age of those old guys. I'll be 46 in a week, so I need them. And for you guys that are just starting, if you want to help prolong your vision with painting, I would just start using a magnifier now. Okay, so I hope you guys can see the change in color here. Let's see, let's look at comments here. There is a change in highlights and shades still. We haven't done any shades, we haven't done any shading at all, and in fact everything is still wet. So as we're painting, it's drying. I'll add a drop of the pale sand, which is a yellowish cream color. And what's gonna be really cool is that they're gonna all tie in with the camouflage pattern and the base color of the green. So when you look at the figure, you're gonna see this, you know, somewhat of the same color throughout. So right now I'm just hitting the extreme highlights. And because I use some glazes to shade, I've learned that a lot of times it is better to go brighter first, because that shade is just going to tone it down. So it may look too bright to you right now, like, oh my god, why did he do that? Well, with the glaze, it will shade down. That goes to what I was saying about knowing your paint, knowing the technology and how it works. Yeah, so you definitely see subtle transitions here. Okay. Maybe some other areas I might add just another bit of a highlight, but that's it. And then I'm going to move on to his bear skin and show you what the contrast paints look with the bear skin. And sometimes, you know, if you put too much paint on, just brush away with your finger. So right now I'm just hitting the corners of where the light would be. Too much. And then I have somewhere on this table, because I've cleaned it. Oh, here we go. A makeup sponge. So Glenn, if you're still listening, if you need makeup sponges, go raid your daughter's rooms. Okay, let's see here. They're going to, the lights hitting up top here. Awesome. Okay, looks good. Perfect. So I'm going to put this down and wash my brush, and then I'm going to get a contrast color to show you what it looks like on that bear skin. Bear with me, pardon the pun, as I move it around here. Okay, here we go. Contrast Black Templar. Where else could we do the black? That's one of the things that I asked myself. Okay, I've picked out a color to save me time. What else can I do? Well, Well, let's see what contrast looks like over these boots I painted up. We'll see. I didn't quite think of that at the time, and that's okay. But we'll see. Okay, got the black right there. Add a thinner medium. Okay. I'm doing the bearskin first because gravity will flow down that water or that paint into the face. So I'd rather spend the time on the bearskin first, get that done, so I don't have to correct any flesh work that I may have done. Let's see, is that coming out nice? Okay, well, here's an experiment, guys. What does contrast look like over green paint? And we may have to do a couple coats. Nothing wrong with that. Then also, though, it's interesting as I'm seeing this, the green is producing a highlight already, built-in highlight to the black boots, which is a time saver. Okay. Really cool. How does the bearskin look? Not too bad. May want to add another coat. I really like the contrast paints. Do I use them to paint, full armies and everything like that? Just with one black stroke and then I'm done? No. But it does have its advantages. Let's see, for example, let's look at this rifle. I would probably, well, not probably, I would use normally gunmetal to paint the AK. But for an experiment, I'm just going to use the contrast on that gun. Magazine, grenade launcher. Pretty cool. Not too bad. Okay. As the contrast is drying and flowing, I'm going to add some more to the boots again. Perfect. That's awesome. Okay, here we go. Let's add another layer on the machine gun on the AK. Okay. Wow, lots of green. We have a lot of green here. So to help me with my sanity, this is when I will start working on the flesh, add some different colors, and then I will probably use the hairdryer real quick. I'll mute the camera and then start working on the camouflage pattern. I'm going to clean my brush real quick. Now there's a couple ways I do flesh. I've been using Carn Maroon Tan a bit. as the base color. Let's just stick that right there. Get that in focus. Get his face done. Get his hands real quick. Okay. Okay, a couple things I need to do. I need to let this face dry real quick. So as it's drying, I need to paint the bandolier, or the rifle strap, the back stock. To save myself time, I'll use the same brown color to paint that. Need to get this color. So which color am I going to use here? Probably use game color Beastie Brown. Throw that on there. That's got a lot of paint dry. So I call these all the extras, or the accoutrements of the figure, that I'm not too worried about shading and highlighting, especially if I'm painting a whole bunch of figures at once. So for this, I'm going to paint the stock, and then I'll paint the foregrip. Sorry, keep moving out of focus or I'm out of camera. Okay, and then here's the sling. And I know that I want to paint the magazine a different color. So I'm going to take, well, let's see, what's on my palette? I'm going to take that pale sand color, just lighten it up. Perfect. There we go. Okay, what else? How else can I save time here? Well, I don't see anything else really. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, yeah, I'm going to get the beard. I got to get the beard somehow. Let's see here. Someone's posted something, I believe. Let's get a different color for the beard. I didn't even think about that. You know what? I'm going to take the contrast paint that's already there, mix it up, so it gives me a darker brown. Let's make a point. Get the beard. Maybe a little bit more. Move around the figure. It's funny. I also see a lot of guys spending a lot of money on paint, on holders for figures. You know, to mount their figures so they can hold and paint. This is a Howard Hughes paint bottle. If that tells you anything, how old this paint bottle is. Probably got this paint bottle when I was 18, and it's got blue tack on it. And then I just mount the figure on there. That's it. It saves me money. I don't have to go out and buy some expensive holder. Ridiculous. Okay, I'm going to clean the brush real quick. I see some bit of a nose under the nose that needs to be dressed. Yep, sometimes that happens. Sometimes I fight. Since I am painting with a bigger brush, I fight the colors. Okay. Okay. Perfect. I've established a nice base. I've got the all the base colors down, other than I have to do the flesh and stuff. So the next stage of this is adding some shadow, some shade to the face and to the weapon itself, so that tones down that brown. And I do that with washes. I'm not going to wash the entire figure, but I do a controlled wash on the actual object itself. A teacher of mine, a big influence, his name was Bill Narden, taught me a long time ago that in nature there's no such thing as black. No color is black. Black is a man-made color. That's what he taught me. I don't know if it's... So he says, always find the darkest brown you can. And this is Camo Black Brown, which I really like. I use that a lot for my brown shades. And what I do is I take my trusty blister this is from a super glue container, and I'll just put a drop in here. Then I'll take some water and I'll make a quick wash. And let's see, test it on my finger. How? That's good. Okay. So I'm going to create shade. How I'm going to do that? Just wash it right there on the face. Immediately, that paint goes right into the sockets. And then the stock, hand. I'll wash the whole gun, the brown. And to maybe break up that brown in the green of the boots, I'll wash it with this dark brown. Try to have some color. If the color is in one area, I try to put the same color in other areas. So I mix it. Okay, now I'm going to have to silence this because the next stage is going to be working on the flesh, bringing out the highlights, working on the other stuff. So it's pretty wet, so to save time, I'm going to, let's see here, I'm going to mute the microphone and use the blow dryer. Okay, done. That was fast. Okay, so I'm now going to work on the face first, and I'm going to grab my flesh colors that I use. They're all Vallejo. Surprise, surprise. And they will all build off of each other. And for you who have seen my other videos that I've done, I use the same. I put the paint right onto the original color. So what we'll do is maroon tan is the very, very base. Then I build off of from flat flesh, basic skin tone, and then light flesh. Sometimes I don't use light flesh, it just depends. Okay, so I'm adding just a little bit more of the tan. I'm going to put a drop of thinner medium in there. So I'm thinning down that base. Because what, pardon me, what I'm not wanting to do is just paint the face all over again and lose whatever definition that I have. I just want to make translucent. Okay, here we go. I forgot to silence my phone, and my buddy Tom is calling me, so I apologize if you can hear that. Okay, so I'm building up on the hand. Okay. Okay, so I've got the first layer there. So I'm going to go into the flat flesh. Take the flat flesh, drop it right on there. Let's see here. Okay, so now we're just starting to build from the original color. Okay, so now we're talking about just dots, really. Where's the light hitting the face? Well, definitely the tip of the nose and the cheeks. Make sure it's in camera. And then hands. May have to change out to a different brush so I have a better point. Okay, so now I'm going to add for this just another drop of the flesh, that flat flesh. And see how it's changing colors right before us? Okay, get this figure in focus, get it in camera view. Cheekbones. Hands. Yeah, now we're starting to see definitely a change of color there, which is good. So now I'm going to go to basic skin tone and drop the basic skin tone drop here. Mix that up. Again, it's all from the same colors, so we have a homogeneous color here. Nice point. Let's see here. Here we go. Just dabs of the brush, adding highlights to the bones. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to add a drop of the light flesh. I can get a damn thing out of the bottle. Okay, so this is just going to be another, just little drops, little touches with the tip of the brush. Again, knuckles, fingers, like that. There you go. I may want to add a little bit of a shade to the hand there to blend that a little bit more. I didn't do that good. There we go. That's the power of a wet palette right there. You can always go back to the colors that you've established. Okay, a couple things that's bothering me with this, that for my own sanity, I need to break up. There's too much green. So, looking at some of the web gear, it is a digi type pattern on the web gear. So I'm going to start taking care of that. How do I break this up so my eye doesn't just see one big green apple? Well, I think I'm going to take some browns, probably the Beastie Brown, and start doing some splotching. Again, this is digital. This is, it's just small dots. So how do I represent that? How do I put that on the figure? Because you're not going to see it on the table. It's not going to go to any competition. What I'm trying to do is create an illusion that exists. Okay, so I'm just going to start stippling. If you look at the camouflage, it's just really, it's digital. So you just got little sporadic patterns. And to help break this green up here, I know it may not be camouflage, but I'm going to do it anyway. I know purists may be like, oh my god, I can't believe he's doing that, but I don't give a fuck. So, okay, just breaking this up, creating a nice little stippling effect. Now, for this, because I do need a change in color, I'm going to I will use black for the pattern as well, and then I'm going to use a different shade of green, a dark green, to bring this down. So we'll have a change. And again, this is just more for me, for my eye. I find that I have to do that sometimes for myself, to give my eye a break, to think that I'm actually achieving something here instead of just painting the same thing, if that makes any sense. Now, let's talk about blacks. I do not like game color black. It dries too shiny. I do not like it at all. What I do like is scale 75's flat black. This sucker is matte. It's flat. It's a great color black. So I'm going to use that on the black area. Scale 75 is a different kind of paint. It's a different way to paint. It takes a little bit of getting used to because it is kind of thin. And sometimes when you add layers, or not sometimes, you just kind of have to keep going over an area where you painted so that the color really shows through. Okay, so again, more sporadic dots. I am not, because this is web gear, I am not too concerned. That's not the area that's going to catch the eye. And again, this is the first time I've painted this pattern, so mea culpa if it doesn't turn out good. And this is live in front of, a group of 1,900 people or whatever it is. So now you could also use the foam, the plucked foam, to create a stippling effect. I've done that as well. Okay, how are we looking here? Not too bad. And as that dries, it will just become flat, and it just will look so much better. Okay. As that's drying, because I am going to apply a wash to it, I'm going to take the time now and go back to painting the stock and the magazine. I'm going to go back to the main brown color that I have here still, nice and wet. Now we painted the base color, we added a dark brown shade, so now what we're doing is going back to that main color, reapplying it, creating a highlight. We also have the bandolier there. I need to start increasing the color, so what I'm going to do is take from the flesh mixture. There's no need for me to go and get another cream color out or anything like that. I can just take what's on my palette and then mix it. So there's not a lot of highlights here on the strap. There's a lot of shading that will happen. Okay, a little bit more. Hope you guys like this. I hope this is helping. Okay, a little bit more, add some more flesh to it, because what I'm trying to do is just bring some extreme highlights a little bit to where the light would catch, or it catches the light, I mean. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. Now we got the magazine. Let's see. Nice. Nice, nice. Go back into this. Get the edge there. There you go. Okay. So, let's see, maybe a little more here. A lot of times I will stipple and try to create some sort of texture, just like that. And sometimes it dries really cool and you have that nice effect. I don't. And let's see, get that there. Okay, it's now time for me to create some shades on the web gear itself to change it, to tone it down. Clean my brush. Now, what color am I going to use here? I'm going to use the Contrast Creed Camo. It is a darker green. It's really dark. Okay. I'm going to dilute it because I don't want to completely cover the paint, you know, and make it now just that dark green color. I'm creating a shade, or a glaze, I mean. Okay. How we doing here? Let's just put it over and see what happens. And sometimes it takes a couple coats, and that's fine. When you're working on, you know, units, when I'm painting army units, I paint 5 figures at a time. That helps my sanity. But what's also nice is, so say I'm working on this, and I put it down, and then I move on to the next figure. So by the time I'm done, on the last figure, the first figure is dry, and then I could start doing other things with it as well. We may not see much of a transition. It's slowly starting to occur, though. It's the web gear, the pouches are getting darker, and we're not really even applying any shading techniques or anything like that. But I will say this color that I'm using would be perfect for introducing some shades. Creating some shadows. Real easy. I mean, just putting it right in there. Again, this is thin down version of the contrast, so I wouldn't personally would not use a full right out of the pot, but definitely it's creating shadow. Happy accident right there. Allow yourself to experiment. Allow yourself to play and see what this paint is going to do, or any kind of paint will do on your figure. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to make it look perfect, because there are what I call porn star miniature painters out there, and I tell people, hey, not everyone's a porn star. You got to find your happy medium. You got to find your technique, what works well for you, and plow on. So, okay, I am seeing a transition, a difference in color. This is definitely darker than this, which is fine. And it's going to be even more darker when we do the shades. Okay. I really like this. This is the first time I've really used this as introducing a shade as the glaze. This is that contrast Creed camo. Really nice. I'm just putting it right in where the darkest areas are. Okay, I'm going to stop myself. If not, my OCD will just kick in. I will just start working it, and that's not the point of this demonstration. Okay, I am going to now work on the camouflage. So I have a trusty brush that I use only for camouflage. I've said this a couple times in my other videos that I make, that I think it's important to... I use Winsor & Newton brushes. This is a size 0. The only time I use this brush is when I have to do camo. It has a very fine point to it, and that's what you need. So we're going to work on the camo pattern, this figure. This is the first time I've ever done this pattern. Especially after done it live. So we'll see how it works. I'm looking for an area on my palette. Sometimes I can't find an area on my palette. I'll just wipe away the paint. Okay, so I'm going to start this with the Panzer Aces Highlight British Tank Crew. Put a drop here. Put a drop medium. Mix it up. Okay, I'm looking at my pattern. At the pattern on the top right corner. How am I going to achieve this? Well, let's just dive in. This could be really good, or this could be a disaster, so we'll see. Okay. So I am stippling, and I can tell already, that was what I was afraid of, that the green that I used for the highlight is taking, it's hard to come up with, or it's hard to see the dots. So I'm just going to save myself time, and I'm going to put the pale sand in with the Tank Crew, make a lighter color. Maybe too light, I don't know, we'll see. Okay, I apologize if it's not on camera. Let's try this again. Yeah, let's... And I've also seen this pattern. They have these splotches, and then there's green in the middle. And luckily, because we're using a wet palette, I have that green. So I can go back into it. Just adding little splotches there. Just trying to create the illusion of camouflage. Yeah, I'm sure that's hard to see on camera because of the creams. Okay, let's see here. I do also see something that I forgot to paint, which will break up the green on the pants, and that is the knee pads. So that will be good. There's not much to this camouflage. It is definitely one of the easier ones, I can tell you. Because all you're doing really is this. That's all you're doing. Just stippling. But I think it's also having the right brush for that. Almost done, actually. See, a lot of guys, one of the huge issues with painting is motivation. Oh, I don't have time. Well, I think that in the end, after this video is done, it might be about 2 hours. And we have done a lot in 2 hours. We're painting camouflage, for Christ's sake. So I don't know if there's a whole web. I'm not that familiar with their web gear. I don't know if that's a whole panel. Might be a whole panel. So if you guys have an hour, then get your butt to your painting area and have a goal. Okay, I've got these 5 figures, or this one figure. I have an hour. I have an hour before my wife comes home. I have an hour before my kids get here from school. What can I do? What can I paint in that amount of time? And then just take it, paint it. If your hour's passed and you achieved your goal, that's awesome. If it's been a half hour and you've achieved your goal, then what can you do in a half hour? Okay, so I'm constantly turning the figure around on my expensive paint figure holder, seeing what areas I need to paint. I still have some areas in the legs here. Yeah, I tell you what, it is a challenge with the cream and getting the highlights of the uniform different than the camo pattern. That's a challenge. I can definitely see that. I may introduce just the pale sand on top of some of the areas to break it up. Yeah, guys, this is a pretty easy pattern to do, without a doubt. I would probably do things a little bit different next time, but again, this is the very first time I've done this pattern and doing it live. So, okay, one thing I'm just noticing, I'm hoping you can see that there is a difference in the color between the pouches now and the uniform. There is that difference. I can see it. Okay. Cool. I'm happy. I'm happy with what I've done. What are we going to do now? I see that I need to, first thing I'm doing is putting away my camouflage paint brush so I don't mess it up. So I need to work on the beard, his beard. Add some color to that beard. Swing this palette around. I still have this. Let's start just adding color. Okay, I'm going to go use that pale sand color and put it to the beard color. Just do some dots. Perfect. Maybe go a little bit more just to get on the extreme edge of his beard and his mustache. Let's see here. I'm not too worried about if I went too light because it's all going to be shaded down. I'll do the trick here. And that color, extreme light. Okay, so it's done. That's how fast this is. It's done as far as the painting all the base colors, getting the highlights done. Now what's left to do is the shades. This is one of my favorite parts, and less important, less stressful to me. Wow, I'm looking at my paint table and it's quite a mess with all these colors. Okay, so first thing I do, I need to mute the microphone on this one, and I'm going to use the hairdryer real quick. Okay, so I use the hairdryer, get them all dry. First thing I do is apply a nice filter of a darker brown over the entire figure. And for that, I'm going to use, if I can find it in this box here, Army Painter Strong Tone. Now, some guy online was nice enough to do a comparison between GW colors and Army shaders. So I've been having problems with Agrax Earthshade with it separating the pigment or whatever, separating. And so when I put it on the figure after it dries, I get like a white line. So I get white lines around some areas. And then I have to go, what the hell just happened, and recover from that. So first thing I do is a strong tone. And I'm going to apply that to the entire figure. This applies a nice filter and levels the playing field. Tones down any bright highlights. It's like I've just added cellophane to it, like a cellophane color, and you're looking through it and it's just all that one color. Okay. Now when I do this for my competition figures or whatever, maybe not extreme like this, but here we go. And I just brush it all over. Just get in all the areas, let it flow. Now, if I start seeing areas where it's pooling a lot and I don't want it to pool because a lot of times it will stain, I just take my brush and push the paint. Okay. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to put it on mute real quick and use the hairdryer. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so now I'm going to start applying the shades. I a lot of times use dark blue instead of black to apply shades. And I'll also use different military green shades to create shadows. So I'm going to grab Army Painter Blue Tone and Dark Tone, which is what this guy said is considered gnome oil. So I don't know. I have the tones, and I use gnome oil occasionally, so I'm not a purist with it. So forgive me if you think I'm wrong. Okay, I'm going to put blue tone here so I can get in the camera, and then the black tone, the dark tone, start adding water. Mix it up. Okay, so I'm going to take the blue tone. Let's make the shadows interesting. Let's add blue. So I'm going to add blue all underneath the arm, in between the rifle, right here in the crevice of the sleeve, the elbow and arm meat.
neck area, maybe a little bit around the face, a little bit on the bare skin. Underneath his hood, definitely back here. Between the legs, where most of the shadows are lying. Which reminds me, I didn't paint the knee pads. We'll get to that. Now, if I was going to spend a lot of time on this figure, I would go back and I would do pin washing around the pouches. All the nice little lines, the web gear lines and stuff. Okay, pretty cool. I'm going to use the non-oil or the dark tone. And since that blue is still wet, I will then start mixing the blue and the strong tone, so you get a nice different black. Put across this weapon. Definitely back in there. Just let it flow. Yep, so definitely with the shades, we've created definition now. And I just keep pouring that dark color here where there's just a lot of shade. I mean, you can't really see back there. So I want to accentuate that by putting it there. Okay, so one thing I do have to do is I have to finish the knee pads real quick. That should not take long at all. I'm going to go to this flat black. Scale 75 flat black. Nice point. Getting around the straps. It's funny, I was just thinking, I also have these listed on Amazon, where I sell, and Amazon did not like the title of the figure pack, so I had to do some explaining to them about it. And no, I'm not funding the Ukrainian revolution. It's just playing with toy soldiers. Okay. How's that look? Now I can see the lip of the top of the knee pad. Let's see if I can get into that. There we go. Got it.
Perfect. Okay, now we need to create quick highlights. Well, what's on my palette? I'm going to take this brown, start making highlights.
No need for me to get up and get a gray color or anything like that.
It's all there. It's already on my palette.
Let's create some highlights here. I also see an opportunity to create a mid-tone on the bearskin cap.
Okay.
Take this, brush it away.
Just trying to create some definition here on that bearskin
Cap. I really like how the contrast
paint worked on bearskin.
but I want to add some more color. I want to keep the I want to
keep the highlight that was created as well as the shade.
So I'm creating mid-tones just to put into it, just to add some color. And you know what? I might add some color to the boots while we're at it. This is another thing that happens to me. I've got a color on my brush. If I see something that could use maybe a highlight or two, so it all ties together. Okay, I'm almost done here. Just put the edge there.
Okay, I'm done.
So I don't know how long I'll have to see after this video when it stops and the length of time it took.
But I bet you it was almost an hour and 40 minutes that I spent. Actually, what does my Facebook say here? You don't see it. But anyway, this wasn't that much time spent on this figure. There was a camouflage pattern. Yeah, I could do better. I could add some more highlights to it. But for the most part, it's done. The figure is done. The only thing I have to do is apply like matte varnish to protect it, to dull it down. But other than that, that's it. I will use the hairbrush, the hair dryer real quick and show you what the figure looks like completely dry. Okay, let's see if I can get them into focus for you. Hopefully you guys can see it good. Again, yep, I would go back over and add some more different dots, more dots, bring out the color. I don't know if I'd do anything else different. I hope that this video helped at least give you guys some sort of tips, something else that you can take and use on your own painting desk to help get your figures done to the quality that you like, so that you have figures to play with, so you can get figures to paint or to put on the table so you can play. This is from the Conflict Ukraine range. This is the DNR pack. These are the Russian-backed forces. I also have the SVU, which is the Ukrainian-backed rebel forces. It's a very the range. I sell a lot of figures. It's pretty popular. So if you have any questions about this range, feel free to message me on Facebook. You can also email me at tim@footsoreminiatures.co.uk. So I hope this helps. Please leave comments. What I need to do different, what could be better, that sort of thing. I'm open to suggestions. Again, the purpose of this is for you guys. So have a great rest of your weekend for those who have to work. Hopefully you have a good week. Talk to you later.